gloves. Hey there, Christos and Thomas. Alright, let's get this underway since Mr. Rossman clearly has either got his time zones wrong or he doesn't know how to actually turn up on time. Hey Greg, James. By the way, I did fix up this 2179 from last night. I went to bed and I realized that 50-60 milliamps was possibly a DFU mode. And sure enough, it was in DFU mode, so I just revived it and it came good. Now you're probably thinking, why the hell didn't I think about that originally? It's because it's a 2179 and most of the time you get that sort of liquid damage on them and stuff like that. They're basically dead. So it was just simply due to the high likelihood of deadness that didn't even occur to me to check the DFU mode. But that would have only worked after I had done the repairs anyway, so the repairs were a necessity, and obviously I suspect that they tried to DFU mode it prior to sending it to me, and that's why it was in that state. So that's why you try not to DFU mode things until it's kind of like your last resort, because it confuses, it creates issues with the diagnosis and trying to repair. Anyway, we have got ourselves a new set of boards, and we're going to make ourselves another ring light, because there are people who want them. And hopefully I can get this relatively well built. The main difference with this one compared to the other ones, let's see, where's the old one? Hey Rob, Diatom. Okay, the electrical difference between it is that the new ones, I don't have to have that bridge on the side of the DC jack to make it work. That's fixed up. On a physical side, the mounting holes for the collet or the ring or whatever that we're going to use to attach to the actual microscope itself, they're 2mm here, and I pushed them up to I think it's about 3 or 4mm diameter here, so I don't have a lot of room on the aluminium on the inside, but it's not really a problem. I was almost considering to see if I can find some offset or cam screw heads, where they're the sort of thing that the head of the screw is shaped like a cam, and then you can adjust how tight it presses against the microscope Barlow lens just by adjusting it that. But it's probably going to be more drama than just getting a 3D printed thing to mount onto there. Anyway, we'll get it built and see how it goes. Ooh, better not mix those up. Hey, Micromage. Let's see, did I get a... And I've also got these bigger heat sinks that I'm using now. They're actually meant for NVMe drives, SSDs, but I've made the width pretty much the same as for the Microscope Light. They work pretty well. Now obviously for this we are going to use a reflow, a very dodgy reflow, but we're going to do it anyway, and then after the reflow we spend just as much time reworking it. That's the only trouble when you do a dodgy reflow system, you've got to do a lot of rework. So let's get to it. I've only got 5 of these. Obviously when I'm prototyping I only buy the minimum sort of number of boards, and then if the prototype proves itself, then you go and buy the couple of hundred. Could help if the microscope camera was on. There we go. Alright. So yeah, you can see now that it's probably actually quite hard to see, but you can see the thermals connecting on the edges there, going on both of them. Right, so this is going to be a right royal mess because I haven't really invested in a proper applicator. I was considering getting a stencil for this round, but I thought if I do that, I'm sort of cursing myself to make a mistake, and then I'll have to do another board. I mean, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm a little bit sick of getting boards done, as you can well imagine. Okay, I just need to clean out the nozzle. Where's my nozzle cleaner? So has Lewis's stream actually started yet, or is he just stuffing around still? Yeah, Micromage, it could be that your light could be brighter than mine. The main thing I want with mine is that it doesn't get in the way of my hot air so much. And of course it's got a high color rendering index. But the actual brightness, I suppose it's subjective, but it's probably not really that much brighter than most of them. But I do much prefer having the superior color rendering and the lack of obstruction getting in my way when I trying to move the hot air wand over. Hey there, OT. Hey Paul Glick. Yeah. I really should just buy myself a couple of hundred of these little things rather than reusing them. It's almost cleared through. Just a little bit more work. Yeah, the glare can be a bit of a problem. It's hard to define what's causing the glare, and like I find sometimes if I've got a lot of flux or sort of any sort of reflective stuff on the board, it can appear glary, and the only real way you can solve that is to have even more light and then bring in the polarizer. I'm not sure how a polarizer would go because my LED lights are rotated in different kind of ways, so it may actually be more of a problem than not. Hey Mark Guzman. Alright, this is probably gonna have to do. I promise if I start doing these at home I will get a proper stencil. I could cut one myself. I've got the mylar. I usually have done plastic or mylar stencils myself because I've got a cutting machine for them. But it's a bit of a commitment. And I'm not sure how well my mylar cutting system, it definitely will not do the controller chip. It will do 603s, that's no problem, but below that it becomes a bit unpredictable. Already this is annoying me. Might zoom in so you get a better view of how bad things are. Yeah, I realise it's a little bit overblown. I can't do much about that at the moment. This is a really poor way of doing this stuff, by the way. Should anyone be... Now I've got a blockage. Fantastic. Hey, Shard. That's a full-on, full hard blockage. Let's see if I've got another tube. I'm most certain I do. I'm just got to find it. Or at least just another nozzle. Now I wonder if my old needle nozzles will actually work. I'm just not sure they're the same screw system. It is lead tin one, yeah. Yeah, I'm fairly sure these won't fit, but we'll see. Then again, maybe they will. Oh, there we go. Easy pie. Okay, that bag is probably... It's got to be about 15 years old now. I bought these back when I was doing, this sort of work normally. Now I've got too much. Okay, learning process. Okay, come on. Too much. Getting there. Kind of easy if I just streak it across like you're a dog that hasn't got a good diet and you're just trying to clean up afterwards. Do the old drag across the ground. Oh God, give me a stencil or give me death. Yeah, just don't drag it across the carpet. Oh my goodness. So go, we need a new carpet. See, the trouble is the circuit board itself, there isn't really a lot of stickiness on the pads. Yeah, the solder... Oh, whoops, that doesn't need soldering. And I can just smear it around. The joy of surface tension will fix everything. Yeah, this is traumatizing. For me, not for you. Yeah, okay, that's a sufficiently ugly mess. This is why previously I would just go along and, just use a soldering iron and dab down what I needed. Yeah, Paul, real smart. Go for the big parts first, because the big parts are always the best thing to put down first. It just makes you feel like you're achieving more by putting down the larger things first. Microscope ring lights having loose threads and falling off easy. Wow, I don't even know which ring light you're referring to with the Microscope. Mine was just a held on by the collet sort of thing. I completely forgot to do the controller. Tiny 212. It needs pads with lead solder. Yep, big fat mess. Like I said, thank goodness for surface tension. And we'll definitely have to rework this afterwards. It's inevitable. But if you get your stenciling right and you get your reflow oven right, then the amount of rework you have to do is pretty minimal when you actually put things into production. It tends to come down then to just how good the weather is on the day and whether you're any good with your stenciling or not. You got to be careful you don't have an inconsistent thickness. It doesn't matter too much with most of these parts, but definitely with this controller, the LED controller, that's where it's going to be problematic or not. Kind of surprised I'm doing this free vision, as in, I'm not involving any microscope yet. Alright, now I've got to remember what the rest of the bits and pieces are. Let's see, I've probably just got 1 microfarad, 100 nanofarad type pairing either side of that, because that's standard. Hey Eric, waking up from a coma, eh? Sounds interesting. 10 microfarads all over the top. Someone's ruptured a bag. 163. Okay, these ones are the ones I need. Getting there, Eric, getting there. Sadly, these things do take a long time. If you don't have your own if you don't have fast circuit board manufacturing access, it takes a long time. I gotta admit, the JLC people, they do a pretty good job in terms of turnaround. They get it done quickly, but the problem is the shipping then. Can't do much about it when you've got slow shipping. And even if I paid $50 for shipping, it still takes a while, because I'm in a remote rural area and all the couriers just have a big fat cry about that. I could have used those ones. Oh well. Shipping from Australia, US, depends. It'll be somewhere around about the 25 to 30 Australian dollars. If you want it shipped in a way that is actually going to get to you. Okay, now we're going to have to bring in the microscope so I can align these. Paul Glick, they were 603s. These are 603s. No, this is where I got caught out last time, but then I made a change. That's way too much paste. Yeah, that's just going to make a big fat blob. Anyway. Remember last time I had the orientations wrong, like by 90 degrees for these two parts here, but I fixed that. At least I think I have. Let's see. Yeah, this is really terrible. Remind me to get a stencil next time, because this is going to look horribly ugly when it reflows. But like I said, we'll rework it. We'll give you a good idea of just how forgiving this sort of paste method can be. Okay, I need a 0 ohm there. The biggest problem I'm going to have is probably some of them are going to have bridges and some of them are going to tombstone. And I do not know my orientation on this one. Is that pin 1 up there? I think that's pin 1 up there. So this needs to be rotated this way. Right, we need a 0 ohm resistor. Actually, we need a couple. $6030 ohm, and then I'm going to need 12060 ohm. Eric is the optimist. Okay, Eric, you can have that optimism. Okay, how is it I pick up a 0 ohm box and it is full of K values? Like, the box literally says 0 ohms on the outside, and yet somehow it's got values like 10K in here. And absolutely no 0 ohms. It's fine, we've got another box we can use. Cat's messing with me, quite likely. Wouldn't put it past him. There you are. Since I am likely going to be doing more manual building like this, I've ordered myself another 100 of these type of containers. These ones are all pretty old now, so they're starting to get to that point where the little tabs, the locking tabs, are breaking off. So yeah, well and truly due time I bought a new set. When I bought these ones, it was pretty hard to get a hold of. But now you can get them anywhere. A lot of things have changed thanks to the likes of AliExpress. Oh, there, Elon. Okay, we didn't put paste down for our little bridging resistor. Now we have to have this bridging resistor amongst other things because of the fact that this is an aluminium board, which means we actually don't have two sides as such. We've only got the one side. And you can put holes through and you can do vias and all that sort of stuff, but it's not going to give you a second board side. So you have to go back to the fun and games of working with only one-sided board. I'm really not bothered about trying to make it nice or anything at this point, because like I said, this is a one-off build, and after this I'm just going to go stencils. And when you go stencil, then you do want your paste to be like this, because if it's too liquid, it's just going to just go everywhere, and it's not going to hold its corners and things like that. So I guess you could say I'm not bothering with those little steps, simply because it's just not going to matter at this point, beyond this one job. I'll tell you what it is, I wish I had my vacuum pencil with me. It'd be easier to flip these bastards over. Hey Dipum, yeah, well, Lewis failed in his arrival, so I decided to take the time. I could end up for short on those, um, on these LEDs, but if I do, it's not going to be the worst. I can always rework it out, and also the controller will manage it, because the controller is current based. So if we do have a shorted LED out there, then it's not going to, it'll adjust the voltage accordingly. Okay, we've got that turnaround. So I wonder if a polarizer will mess with things if I put it on the camera, because the LEDs are flipped around. This is probably the most painful part of the process, because every time you put down one LED, you've got to adjust rotation and everything like that and put the next one down. It's not like it's a normal part where you can just keep your mostly orthogonal orientations. Oh yeah, let's go crazy. That's just way too much paste. Colossally way too much paste. I'm well aware of it. Don't need to tell me what I'm doing wrong when I already know that I'm doing it. And conversely, there's almost not enough paste on that one. Geez, I'm like it's my first day being a bricklayer or something. Kicked off the job. Yeah, DEFCON shipping is ludicrous with a lot of those places. It's funny, we have sort of entered into the realm of being more dependent on shipping than ever before, and it's not really yet flowing along with the more demand should result in lower costs, assuming supply keeps up. I think a lot of companies, for somehow or another, got caught with their pants down when it came to the whole surge of popularity of buying things online. Personally, I thought it was fairly clear from definitely like 2000 that online shopping was going to become a big thing, and letters were essentially going out of phasing out. I mean, the whole letters phasing out was becoming clear when, by the mid-90s, when we had emails. But instead, as per usual, the industry was very slow to react. Then they got all upset when all their revenues are plummeting through the floor because no one's sending letters. Then they want bailouts, and then they charge a fortune. for the fact that we don't have enough infrastructure to support the demand. And it's like, geez, guys, you only had 20 years to catch up. Sorry, Greg, what did you mean? A running what? A running bond? I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, do you mean the chains? I don't know. I don't know what you mean, Rick. Sorry. Okay, that clearly has to be cleared up. That's, I mean, I can tolerate a fair bit of mess, but that's just a little over the top. Still gonna be messy. How to make a colossal mess. Make people across the internet scream in agony. I'll just go like that. That will just ball up when it goes through the reflow, so I'm not too worried about that. I don't need to worry about C3, that's not required. Yeah, I think I'm good otherwise. Okay. Alright, so currently this is set at 143. I'm going to let it go up to that. And when it gets to 143, I'm then going to push it up to 200. Hey Mohammed, it's not currently yet commercially available for sale because I've not yet been fully happy with the building of it, and there's a few other things I've still got to work out. These things do unfortunately take time if you don't want to release a dodgy product. Unlike my software. Ah, what the flippin' heck just score? Ah, prickle, damn it. I thought I was being hit by a wasp. See if I can centralize this and come on down on it. You do some interesting things there, Defcom. Torn surrounds. Okay. This is really not the right way to do reflows, but short of getting myself another reflow oven for the desk, I'm just not going to do it. Okay, so at 145, you can see it starting to heat up. That's great. Now we have to push it up to about, I'm going to go 210. So we've sort of done the ramp, and now we're going to make it do the spike, and then once it reflows we'll switch it off, and that's effectively like the quick come down. Fortunately, with the airflow coming across here, it won't take long to cool down. Okay, see the back one's already gone. There's definitely an unevenness here in the temperatures, because none of this up here is... Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we'll switch it off. It only got to 190. And I'm just trying to avoid the tombstones. It's easier for me to push and prod things while it's in this state, because once it cools down, it is pretty hard to redo a lot of the joins. There you go. So yeah, we're just going to let that cool off now. James, I usually get hit by wasps every couple of weeks. It doesn't help that I do a lot of yard work, and there's a lot of wasp nests out there. I don't have a problem with wasps under normal circumstances. I mean, we have a lot of them building nests around the house, and we don't have any grief with them. But obviously, when I start tearing down their home, they are going to get pissed off and come after me. And yeah, they do occasionally. But overall, we don't have a problem with wasps attacking us, even though they are everywhere. They're just defending their homes. Hey, sweetie. Ah, right. Okay. Let's take my gloves off. Thank you very much for that. Alright. Lunch has arrived. Nice chicken toasted sandwich. Nice. Yeah, Def Bomb, the hot plate's okay for these sort of one-off jobs. Like I said, I would not like to do this as a production run. So I'll just get myself another reflow oven for the production. And I've got the controller board that I built for the drying oven. And I'll just make another one of those, but I'll program it so that it will have the reflow curve that I need. I did want a larger, I do need to get a larger heat pad, but what I wanted was one that was lower profile. So this stands around about 100 millimeters tall. I would rather something no more than about 25 millimeters tall, and I can get them, they are larger, but again, shipping's the killer. Preston, surprisingly, no, none of the plastics, any plastic component, as a general rule, is rated for reflow temperatures. Most of the time, things will melt if you direct hot air at them, like onto a sharp point where the heat can focus and build up. But I can take a hot air wand and put 350, 400 Celsius above it, and it won't melt so long as you don't get that air striking on the corners and things like that. Yeah, most plastics. I don't know of many items. Actually, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that is not reflow rated. But yeah, if you take your hot air wand, even at say 250, and you focus it on one of the corners, then yeah, that will melt. It's a bit like, consider it like this, it's equivalent to what you think of as the wind chill factor, except it's more like the hot burny factor. This is another good reason why I wear gloves, because I can take the gloves off and I can eat food without worrying about ingesting lead. We're getting there, we're almost finished. So, did Lewis's stream start? His Ask Is Anything stream? Assuming he even turned up. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. He shouldn't be streaming. Alright, just gotta go wash my hands, get the oil off, and then I'll come back, new gloves and everything like that. Just had to get new boxer gloves as well, so just ran out of the other one. Oh, the Christian lawyer. Loyola, sorry. Okay. That was actually still pretty warm. I probably should have taken it off the heat plate a fair bit earlier and... yeah. Oh well. Okay, now the fun part. The rework. Where we try to find out what we didn't do right. And naturally the freaking switch will kick in. There we go. Probably could have used a little bit more on the tab for this, but that's okay. I can just see a bead of solder in there, so that's okay. The jack, likewise, could have done a little more on there and there, but again, there's a little bit of pillow and heading on here. We'll see how that behaves. Yeah, what happens with the automation is that, whoops, the USB channel gets knocked out by the the what do you call it, exhaust fan. I'm trying to work a solution. I've even put the exhaust fan on a UPS, and the UPS has a automatic voltage regulator controller thingy on it, but it still doesn't seem to squelch the glitch. It's improved from the past, but it still every now and then happens. I really don't need to be taking these off. I guess I should only just get the worst of them off. Hey there, Arilla. Okay, so we're going to have to touch up that leg there and clean up the excess here. Those are not blobs that can be knocked off. They actually have to be wicked away with a hot soldering iron. These ones, on the other hand, there we go. Hey Cubby, yes, another day, another day. If I could trust the manufacturer, I would get someone else to make these, by the 100 or 200. But I worry that they're going to screw me over by using different LEDs to what I spec. Because it happens. It happens a lot. And then you don't find out until too late. Substituting parts for things you didn't ask for, you didn't request, is a time-honored tradition. I think we're good for a test. We do have to program this, and to do that we just put a 3-pin header across here and hold on. Hey there, Pedro. Now to find my firmware folder. Looks like we might have what we're after. I guess we'll find out. USB 2. helps if you tell it to program via the correct port. Okay, supposedly that works. I mean, supposedly that's done. Wow, you are crashing every 10 seconds. That's really effed up. Disconnect it from there. Hopefully. Yep. No, we've got the wrong firmware. Yep, we've got the wrong firmware on that one. I know, because the switch behaviors are different. So it's not 51. This might be it. Ach. What's going on now? Is there no end to my agony? Okay, that's done. Okay, that's better. Yeah. Mohammed, yes, it's a very annoying keyboard thing. I've got to one day sort it out. Okay, so now this, if I swing it in, it should switch off. But I've probably killed the... Oh, there we go. Come on, switch off. And now it should be on. Let's try that off again. There we go. Yep, alright, so that's working. A better chair. Oh, the chair's okay. The chair's a pretty good one. It's really more a problem with the keyboard. It needs to be moved over to here on the side or something like that. Okay, one thing I have found with this heatsink and material is that I actually don't really need to screw it on. It's sufficiently adhesive on the first application, as long as you clean it. And given that it is being held by gravity, it's actually very difficult to remove the heatsink once I apply it. The only problem with this chair at the moment is, of course, that it does sag. It's just a classic sort of leaky, what do you call it? Leaky piston thingy-majig, gas lift, or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't catch me out too often. There we go. And that's that. Now, you're probably saying I really should have a heatsink around here, and I concur. It would be nice to have some sort of finned circular thing. But given that it's an aluminium board, a fair bit of the heat does get down to here, and we're protecting the actual circuitry here. Anyway, so that's done. Let's plug it in, let's install it, and it should be absolutely no difference to the existing one. Oh, Jim, pain, man. That really hits in the feels, man. Okay, put the O-ring on. I'm using an O-ring at the moment because, well, it's an easy way to install it. Okay. Switch to the microscope. The sliding drawer I have tried, and I end up breaking my kneecaps on it too much. So I think really just a complete rework of the workshop. But yeah, it definitely needs to be repositioned because it genuinely makes it uncomfortable for me to work in here for anything other than just board repairs. Well, that's a really shitty job on all this. That's the joy of my own prototypes. They're complete crap. That looks really crap because I had that orientated the wrong way with the previous build. That's what I was talking about before. You donated, therefore you can insult. Oh. See if you compare the gapping here. So when you look at this gapping, it's more clear that that is the orientation of the parts. But when you look at this gapping, they're all square set, so you don't know whether it's meant to go left to right or top to bottom. Yeah, The Apprentice. Yeah. What else was I going to say? There's a couple of tweaks I could, like if people want even more brightness out of this, you can change that resistor there, which is at 806 ohm, I think. You can lower that resistor down to around about 790 or somewhere between 790 and 800 is the peak, and you will get a bit more brightness out of the LEDs. To be fair though, that tiny extra 1 or 2% in terms of human perceptibility, it just isn't really worth it. All you're doing is creating a hell of a lot more heat for no real gain. Alright, and that is pretty much it. I do need to change an iPhone screen, so I probably should do that. Yeah. Well, I've got all you victims here. Where are you, iPhone screen? Ah, this is a Pro Max. Yuck. Actually, I should also put away all the parts. Put them away, put them away, put them away now. So I don't come back later and go, where the hell are these parts? And I also need to get rid of all of these dud boards. You're a dud? No, you're a good one. And I'll throw this in the prototype bin. Oh. So these are the good boards now. So yeah, I think I'll get a run of 100 or so of those done. Finally I'll be able to get some sort of discount. Hey there, House Moth. Basically it's just a microscope ring light, that's all. And it addresses the issues that I encountered with the sort of traditional Amscope ones. The two main factors that I ran into was that when you use your hot air wand, the traditional ones are just so wide that you really can't get a good angle on your board. Hence a lot of people would use angled tips to compensate for that. But I don't like angled tips because they do them poorly, because they just insert these at an arbitrary angle, be it 30 or 45, rather than the proper way, which is to actually fill it with sand or something like that and then actually put a curvature on it. But aside from that, the color rendering from the cheap LEDs that they use is pretty awful. Particularly, you notice it more when you're doing video recording. And I thought, yeah, that's it, I'm just going to do my own. I mean, they're probably, in terms of actual lumens, they're probably not too dissimilar. But in terms of color spectrum rendering, the new ones are definitely superior. But that comes down to the LED itself, of course, which takes me back to why I'm very disinclined to have someone else manufacture these, because they will most likely skimp on those LEDs. They will find something that's got perhaps the same Kelvin rating, and they go, "Yeah, that's all you need," and the same lumens output. But it's not going to work, because you need that spectrum broadness. The compass sensor thing, that's a secondary couple in. Obviously it's not on the board itself. It's just a case of utilizing data that is being fed to the PC already and making it switch the power source to the microscope light on or off. I do have a new board coming for that power switch, because if you watch that power switch video, you'll see that I kind of had to bodge my way to a solution. Now the only downside with the new board is that it's still using the AT-Tiny 2313, which is a very old controller, but it's one that I've got the software for and it works, so I'll continue to do that until I can find maybe someone's got an equivalent functionality with a Tiny 45, or I would prefer maybe a Tiny 412, something more recent. Because the Tiny 25, 45, 85 chips, they're getting old now too. So the 2313 is even older still, but at least I can still source them. Okay, so I've got no TT on this one. That's going to suck. Yeah, that's going to suck. Oh well. I guess that's one less step for me to worry about. I do not have the equipment software or whatever set up to be able to regenerate the true tone based on the serial number of the device, etc. Oh, whoops. Better mark the date of extraction. Was it 0504? Yep. So let's see how long this... Didn't even last them 2 months. Blimey heck. Some people just get unlucky. Once they break their first screen, it just seems like they have a bad run for a couple of months. I've had people break the same screen 2 or 3 times in a week, and it's just like, I am feeling guilty taking this money from you, but I can't stop you breaking your screens. The biggest culprits are usually people who put the phones in their top pockets, like in their shirt pocket or something like that. It's like, that is not an appropriate place for it, nor is your back pocket. But yeah, if I could find a manufacturer like JLC PCB or whatever, and if I could trust them not to substitute parts silently, then I would I forgot to peel this off first. Oh well. Then it would be much easier for me. I'd much rather have someone else who's got all the factory setup and all that ready to go to do this sort of thing, because it's not really the kind of work I want to do. And it pushes the price up. See if I can get someone else to do it, and it's like maybe they add $5 per unit to the bill of materials effectively for the labor, then that's great. I'm fine with that. But when I've got to do it, and if it takes me 10-20 minutes to do each one, that's gonna hurt. It sort of limits it very much to a boutique device then. And I can probably get the USB-C meters done, but I've got to work out what's going to go on with the LCD panels, because it seems like now that I finally want a couple of hundred of them, they're like, yeah, well, we don't have the non-backlight ones anymore. And I'm like, nah, damn you. How could you not have the same product after 12 years? They do have the same display, the primary display, the actual LCD portion, but they're all married with some sort of backlight, and I'm fairly sure that when they do that, the reflectivity of the original panel is slightly different, and so you don't quite get the dark contrast that you do. And of course, naturally, I haven't got any provision on those boards to drive a backlight. It would only just be a normal 200, 300 ohm resistor, things like that. But you then have to wire in that backlight, and that is not something I want to do, because it doesn't get fed via the FPC flex. It gets fed as 2 separate little wires on the back side of the LCD. If it was something that came through the FPC, it probably would be tolerable. But yeah, a separate wiring setup, it's like, yeah, no thanks. Worst case scenario, I might have to take a contrast hit and just clip the lines. Hey Jan Zimmy. Good, danke. Lots and lots of meow meows. Okay, Apple logo, it's a good start. But normally I would transfer the True Tone, but again, like I said, there is no True Tone data on that previous screen. And I just realised I completely forgot to write all the details on their screen. Oh well. Whoa, why are you saying hello? Oh, you were in the middle of an update when you got smashed. Oh, that's nasty. Just making sure all the facilities are working. Alright, that'll have to do. Seems to work. Man, the camera lenses all busted up and I don't have any spares of those. Not that I would probably replace it in a hurry, because doing nice things like that is precisely how you have things go wrong in life. Alright, okay, well that's it for today. That ring light is actually already attributed to someone, so I'll have to send that off and I'll just have to build a couple more. I'm hoping tomorrow that the proper USB-C boards arrive. I did get some this morning, but they are the ones that have the mistake on them. Not those ones. Where'd my mistake ones go? Ah. Yeah, so these ones have the mistake on them with the I2C lines being swapped. Look at that, nice. So hence I've got the pink mark of death on it. And also, see, I've still got the INA 219 on it. But now that I have a good supply of 237s, I've eliminated that, moved that to there, swapped the lines so they actually are correct. But you can see it has the 340 footprint there and the 2 regulators. But yeah, so it's a bit unfortunate. I do keep the boards, because if you ignore that part of it, then you've still got a board that can be useful for a number of things, because you've got a regulator, you've got a USB-C, USB mini interface via serial, and you've got you know, you can put a controller or anything like 212, 812, whatever, and then you've got access to I2C lines. So you know, it's a useful board for future prototyping. So that's why I don't generally throw a lot of my boards out, but I do mark them to let me know that, hey, don't use this for an actual production. This is, I have protectors on my camera lenses. Yes. Well, you mean just like UV filter lenses from Heiko, or whatever the brand is. But yeah, I always have those. Like, if you have a microscope and you are not using a Barlow, still go and put one of those 48mm or whatever protector lenses on it. You will regret it if you do not, because you'll end up with flux and splutter, all sorts of stuff on the underside of your objectives, and trying to clean that is not fun at all. You will, yeah, definitely something you'll regret. Oh, on the iPhone. Oh, right. Okay. But yeah, this here, instead of a Barlow, I know we've diverted, Jim, from what you're saying. So these are all just the random bits and pieces of crap that didn't work out when I was trying to work out what microscope setup I had. So this here is a 0.5 Barlow, which was all that we really had access to initially when everyone started jumping on to repairing things. And I was never happy with the 0.5. I bought it just to see what it was like, but the 0.7 is the one that I was looking for. I was actually after a 0.65, but 0.7 they came out with, so I was like, okay, I'm happy with that. But this here is effectively a by one Barlow, and all it is just a simple filter, piece of glass, nothing, no magnification or reduction, but it protects the objective lenses on your microscope on the underside, because when you're soldering and things like that, you know, things do flick up, and it's much easier to clean one of these than it is to disassemble your microscope and clean those objectives. I've got my circular polarizer here. I should see what it's like under the microscope light. I suspect it's going to be quite dim. Height is better with a 0.7, yes. But it's the trade-off you have, yeah. So obviously the 0.5, funnily enough, I hated the 0.5 because it required you to be just too high. It's like you needed a giraffe neck. Okay, so this is no polarizer on it. And okay, I haven't cleaned this polarizer, so it's a bit iffy, but you know. Okay, and that's with the polarizer. And as you can see, immediately it's quite dim. It's pleasant. It's like being in, a nice shady tree or something like that. I'll bring the brightness up to the maximum I can. Okay, so that's maximum. I don't know, you tell me. Does that seem just a little bit too dark? I feel like it is. I could bring the HDR up on the camera. This is an A1466 board. Yeah, and it's feeling pretty dark there. Like I said, it's quite pleasant from my viewing experience here, but it's definitely a bit dark. It's not too bad when you zoomed out, but if you want to take a deep dive down into some, like say you're doing some fine trace rework, it almost goes completely black there. I'll see if I can see what it's like with the improved or increased HDR. I'll just get the microscope camera thingy. Just give me a second. So what's that? Level 7. Starting to really push it a bit. Is there a trademark issue if you call your ring light Ringo? I don't know, but I probably wouldn't call it that anyway. Yeah, I think if I had one of those halogen ring lights, laser fiber optic halogen ring lights, it might be okay. Or if I increase the number of LEDs on this one. But as it currently stands, it's feeling a bit, it's just a little bit too anemic. So we'll take the thingy off, and I'll have to adjust the HDR back down after this. Okay. It doesn't help that these boards don't have a lot of color, so yeah, so that's a little bit too pushed. That there is, mind you, my monitor's not that great, but somewhere between 4 and 5 is about appropriate. That's not at full brightness. If I go full brightness, there we go, that's full brightness. Dingo stuff. Yeah, I haven't got a name for it. I probably won't have a name for it. I'll just call it the PLD ring light. I suppose we can't call it the rooster ring light because people will probably rename that to something else. But yeah, if you're doing MacBook work, the 0.7 Barlow is pretty much your best combination. It's a little bright. That's about right according to my screen. Yeah. The nice thing about this ring light too, it will remember that setting. So, well, hopefully it will. We'll just check it. Okay, so it's been more than a second or so that it's had that fixed brightness. We'll swing it away, it switches off. Swing it back in, switches on, and that looks about the same to me. Easy way to prove it is just go for the really dim, like that. And that should have about a second or so, and that's good to go. Off. Bring it back. Yep, equally as dim. So yeah, it's remembering what I leave it at. Was it Ringo Starr? Oh, now I get you, the damn Beatles reference. Gee. Alright, this time I'm actually now going to go. Got to get some other stuff done. Thank you all for watching, and I will, I will now go and make another order for, I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 of those aluminium boards. And I'll get a stencil done too. At least if I get a stencil done, it makes it within the range of me being able to sort of do them myself. I still wouldn't want to do more than a batch of 10 at a time, maybe once a week, at the very most. But we'll see how we go. Like I said, if anyone does know a reputable board manufacturer whom I can trust to use the correct LEDs, let me know in your email or in the comments below, and maybe we can actually turn this into something a little more than just a little hobby project. So I'm out of here. You all take care. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Wrong mouse.